So a little background about me. So I'm a nano engineer by training. So but 4 months ago I dropped out of a PhD at UC San Diego to work on TagBax full time. And that's because even though my research might have led to help save some lives, what I'm trying to build with TagBax could change the way we live. So what I'm trying to do is solve this problem. What does 4 stars mean? Like, we like things for different reasons. So if I say something 4 stars, how does that translate to you? You don't know, there's no details behind that number. It's one-dimensional, there's nothing back. There's no context, so that's part of the problem. The way we're solving this with TagBax is with an enhanced rating system, where we add context and value. So let me show you what that means. This is an example using rating movies. Could be 5 stars, but with a 3-star thing, simple question. Did you like Avatar? And then we follow it up with other questions. Like, was it awesome? Was the story good? Was the story cliche? But the special effects were awesome, right? So this is a flow. It's a conversation you're having with the system. And you might think this is a lot of work to generate, but this is all based on tags. So all these questions are simple is X, Y type of questions. And so we can generate them all, and that's part of what we're doing. But if there's so many questions, one person's going to do them all. So what TagBax does is it splits the work between everybody else. So this makes it nice and easy. But then if everyone else is rating, how can you trust them? The trust in TagBax is very simple and straightforward. Basically, if 2 people agree on something, in this case, if Diana and I both agree that Avatar has awesome special effects, then that calibrates our awesomeness trust or taste in special effects. And so I can trust that when she says the same thing about Inception. So what does all these connections get you? Personalized recommendations with personalized reviews. So this will allow us to create explicit reviews telling you why you should like something. So it's not just a 4-star. Now it's telling me I love it because it's deep, the story is original, and the special effects are awesome. So, and this could work for anything. This is just an example with movies. So what's the plan for this all? Well, what we want to do is we want to help businesses. We want to plug this into existing websites. We're not asking you to come to TagBax. We're asking you to use this and demand this on the sites you already use, because you want control, you want these types of recommendations and reviews. And we'll make it easy for them to plug and integrate us into their websites. Basic model is freemium. So the idea is if you want to just play around and try it out, you can use the basic rating system for free with simple recommendations. But if you want advanced analytics, white labeling, all these bells and whistles, then you got to pay up. And this would scale based on the size of the company that's offering these transactions. Our competitors in the rating and recommendation space, there's a lot. But actually, I don't see most of them as competitors. I see most of them as complementary to what they're doing. Because you might have awesome reviews. Reviews are great, and recommendations are good, but we can build off of those existing ones. We can be complementary to those systems. And basically, the way I see our core differentiation between all those other competitors is this focus on the idea of a rating engine. Basically, we take incentives, use those to generate ratings from people, use those ratings to collect data, and then use that data to create more incentives for people to rate, like the recommendations, but there are other ones. And so by using this engine, focusing on getting this engine to turn over, we create power, and we will. My goal is for TagBax, the rating engine, to power the next generation personalization of the internet. To do this, our team is me, a CEO and engineer. CEO means I do take care of the big stuff. Nano engineer means I take care of the small stuff too. And Diana is backing me up on the data management side, data science side. Our first MVP was a simple iPad survey app, but it already exceeded our expectation. I told some people to stop, which in retrospect I shouldn't have done, but I did anyways. And they loved it. It was a conversational, like one question after another, and people, it's refreshing to be asked your opinion, because a lot of the time, they just stop at the one thing, and there's no depth to it. So now we're moving on. We're launching our website in the next week or two, something like that. So if you're interested, please sign up at TagBax.com. It's going to be a more fleshed out movie rating system, which we're going to use to test some things out, get some data, flesh out the model, and get some traction. From there, we're going to, obviously, with 2 people, it's not enough. So we're definitely heavily recruiting, focusing on getting more people, and getting our first paying customer. So what we need, developers, potential customer introductions, advisors, and we're looking to raise 250 seed capital in the next few months.
All right, just in time. Big round of applause.
Hey Matt,
Hi.
so this is a great field, of course, to be looking into. There's a lot of activity,
Yes.
especially in the movie recommendation area, starting with Netflix.
Right.
If I read your presentation correctly, what you're doing is that you're sort of taking a vertical domain like movies, and you're creating a small ontology, or some sort of
Sure.
ontology.
Sure.
That's what you call context and value.
Yes.
And then based on that ontology, you actually get people to rate along all those different dimensions
Right.
of your ontology.
Absolutely.
So are you familiar with Gini?
Yes. Movie ratings.
So Gini,
Yes.
they've come up with a very good deep
Yeah.
ontology for movies.
Sure. Yes.
So how do you guys see yourselves, going with this? I mean, I could see going into a bunch of different verticals.
Right.
Movie seems a little crowded, maybe.
Yes.
But this methodology, of course, applies in any domain.
Right.
So, are you planning on continuing in the movie domain? Are you planning on going into maybe something that's more greenfield?
So we picked movies partly because it's crowded, because we want to see where this technology, how it stacks up to competitors, because based on how well it does, then we can make a decision. This is just for testing question purposes. We're not trying to build a movie rating website per se. Depending on how the traction goes, how the website goes, we want to either leverage that traction to find paying customers and say, we'll build a version of this for whatever your content is. If the movie thing does take off, well, we can still go with that. That's always an option. But another option is just to focus on, rather than specific customers, target market where they're like blogging or news, where there's a lot of potential customers, and build a system for that and use the freemium model.
Keith?
Usually in this space, there's a few problems that you need to be good at solving to be successful. I think the first is related to ontology, which is taxonomies or ontologies usually have to be hand-maintained through dictionaries. And if you have machine learning abilities that can learn the dimensions of a topic automatically and create your ontology without a human being having to be involved, you have a massive advantage.
Right.
So for example, if you pointed your engine at a new topic, that it could, given a training set, could automatically understand enough about the topic to figure out what the questions are. That's kind of problem number one.
Yeah.
Problem number two is getting people to be prepared to ask more than one question, or even one.
Right.
I use Netflix a lot, and I don't even rate the movie
Right.
with the current rating system because I can't be asked to do it.
Yeah.
And the payoff of doing it in terms of what I get recommended is so low.
Exactly.
That I'm not prepared to put the effort.
Absolutely.
So how do you deal with those two problems? One, the automation of ontology.
Okay.
Second, what's the reward for the user for answering more than one question?
So the first part is, yes, absolutely. There are various ways, natural language processing, we can scour Twitter and things like that to build up new ontology as we go. Right now, this is part of what we're trying to do. We're building those technologies to do that. First one, we're focused more on handcrafting it because there's a lot of expanding other verticals comes down the line. So right now, we're focusing on the problems inherited, just dealing with one. But that's absolutely fine down the line for expansion. The answer to the second question is absolutely. The reason, like you said, is that Netflix doesn't deliver enough value to give you, so for you to recommend. And part of what the TagBax does that's different is it can keep improving your recommendations beyond the plateau where the Netflix algorithm get, because we can keep asking you different follow-ups, like try and figure out, so you only gave this 4-star, what was the reason? What could we, you didn't like something about it, what was it? This extra dimension, this extra question, the follow-up, gives us the flexibility to find that out so that we can make a better recommendation. So that's part of it. The other part is that...
But you don't feel there's a chicken and egg there. I mean, won't people just close the browser when you ask the second question? You know, I can't be asked for this.
There will be and there won't be. You focus on the people you get first, and we can definitely jumpstart this. You can easily have either paid or volunteer people rate each thing hundreds or thousands of times to flesh this out, to kind of like tread the ground so that it's easier for everybody else to walk on. And then it makes it easier for the people as they come in to get that.
Then you lose the personalization, because it's like robots and that's not real people.
No, I'm saying real people. Hired people.
Oh, real
This is
people.
what Pandora does.
And then there are the people also who will rate movies or whatever content nonstop just because it's there and because it asks them.
Right.
So they're those ones too.
Greg?
So I've given you lots of feedback on your idea and everything. So I have one question about your presentation tonight. Do you understand it?
This one I understand. And to help you over there with yours, it just, so right now you're thinking of verticals as like movies, but like I come from the world where there was like eBay and then there was PayPal. eBay did its ratings in eBay, not through PayPal. So everybody's eBay rating stayed in eBay, and they've done it on the PayPal side of the transaction. Wherever you went with PayPal, your ratings would have gone. So now at Square, we don't have the problem because there's always a buyer and a seller. So just like an Airbnb, if you're going to rate the person who stayed, they're going to rate you back. In situations where it's reciprocal, you get the thing because one side wants the other. And the second thing is the concept of a payment and whether that went well, whether it was fast, whether it was content. That's a horizontal type of activity in human endeavor. It doesn't matter whether you're buying lampshades or books or things. Just knowing something about the other seller, the rater of the other seller, independent of the industry vertical, would be incredibly useful to us, like in Square. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, and to even build off of that, so even if companies didn't want you to know specifically, like let's say you're rating a specific product and I don't want my competitors to know, we can just maintain the connection. So you agreed with this other person on something. So there's a way of preserving businesses' data and stuff, while still adding value to the users.
I mean, one question for you is, if you do have an ontology, do you actually need more than one rating, or just based on one rating, can you come up with recommendations?
The minimum is 2. 2 is the new minimum, because without a fault, like there's just not enough data there. That's part of the problem. So that example was 5, just to kind of show you the flow. And it would probably be somewhere between 2 or 5, depending on the user and depending on what the topic was.
All right. Last question?
So a couple of quick points here. One is actually shipping product is great. It's super cool that you actually had something to show your friends. That said, it seemed like your conclusion was neat. My friends liked it, which is often a proxy for neat. My friends like me. So I would see if you're going to go and show the results of initial trial that you've got some objective data. Otherwise, you're just going to find self-validation. And if you're really going to have people be addicted to this process, I would say you're going to need UX. It's kind of like a UX thing for how you make a visually engaging experience. And what I saw so far indicates you might need a little bit more UX.
All right, time's up. Big round of applause. So the judges.